Over the past year, Yorkshire Tea and I have developed a theme behind our Let's Plays. Castlevania Symphony of the Night was about how a person with no familiarity with Metroidvania-style games would react to one of the archetype's greatest entries. Mega Man 9 and Mega Man 10 were about the examination of not just the games themselves, but their reception at the time of release. Finally, Mega Man 11 was about an examination of modern criticism, contrasting our own experiences as now veteran Mega Man players against the wider reviewing community. Through this, T and I have learned a few things, noting that Symphony of the Night remains as stellar now as it did on release, and that critics in 2008 largely shared viewpoints that we have now on Mega Man 9 and 10. Perhaps this points to a certain enduring quality in gameplay that means that classics never truly become outdated. Or potentially that T and I are old fogies that like old games. In line with that, we found that Mega Man 11 received a much more positive response from the press than us, potentially showing that familiarity with the series can be a double-edged sword, with both fatigue and high expectations altering one's perspective. With our next LP, T and I wanted to combine some of these ideas. We wanted to continue our theme of comparison to contemporary criticism, as well as our theme of varying perspective. In particular, we noted the excellent fan response to our blind Symphony of the Night Let's Play. So approaching another game blind seemed like a smart idea. T and I also noted that we differ wildly in our experience with strategy games. T is relatively less experienced, with some exposure to Final Fantasy Tactics and Advance Wars, whilst I have played everything from Fire Emblem to Command & Conquer to Warcraft 3. And yet both of us still have a blind spot in this area, one encompassing one of the most widely loved game series in the past 10 years, XCOM. The original XCOM was a science fiction strategy video game series that began with the title UFO Enemy Unknown in 1994. Published by Microprose, the game received sequels in 95, 96, 97, and 98. The premise of the series is that an alien invasion in 1999 prompts the creation of a paramilitary organization to combat the new threat. The turn-based combat games that resulted were widely praised thanks to their deep gameplay and compelling story, as well as the fascinating aspect of permadeath, wherein soldiers that died in a mission would remain dead for the rest of the game. However, subsequent to the acquisition of the franchise by Hasbro, and a disastrous third-person shooter release, XCOM Enforcer in 2001, the proud series fell by the wayside, with planned sequels quietly cancelled as the studio wound down. And for 9 years the series lay dormant, until an announcement by 2K Marin in 2010. The studio announced a reimagining of the series slated for 2011. However, after being repeatedly mishandled, the game ended up being shanghaied by another effort, this time from Firaxis Games. In 2012, Firaxis, led by Microprose founder Sid Meier, announced the development of XCOM Enemy Unknown. The game garnered universal praise on release, wowing fans both with its faithful original, as well as its use of more modern gameplay conceits. An expansion, Enemy within a year, would maintain the high standard, improving character customization and continuing the story. But that wasn't the end. Buoyed by the success of the game, Firaxis would continue their efforts, announcing XCOM 2 for release in 2016. Continuing the trend of excellence, Firaxis hit it out of the park once again, with critics stunned to find a game that had built upon the foundations of its predecessor, while still innovating enough to keep things fresh. And so with this latest release, Yorkshire Tea and I felt it would be a good spot to examine the franchise, as people versed differently in tactics games, but new to the series. In particular, we want to see the effect that the permadeath mechanic will have on us as players, and so we are choosing to do this LP as an Iron Man run. One save file, no resets. For an additional twist, we want you, the audience, to submit soldiers for us to play with. For an additional twist, we want you, the audience, to submit soldiers for us to play with. Those who own the game will be able to do so via the character export function, and for those who do not own the game, a character creation video and Google form will be provided alongside this video for your submissions. But more than anything, we want to know the joy of victory, the sorrow of loss, and want to feel everything that XCOM players have loved for so long. Which is why Yorkshire Tea and I are proud to present This Is Fine. Let's play XCOM 2 blind.